Hi guys, welcome back to Blossom Living with POI. I hope you are all well and keeping safe. So on today's video, the purpose of this video is to address a question that was asked of me on one of my video. It was a long question, so I wanted to dedicate this video just to address that question from my own experience and to share some resources that I can. So before I get started, disclaimer, any information that I'm about to provide for you on this video, please do not take my words verbatim. Make sure to speak to your doctor in regards to the best solution for you. I am basically answering this question from my own experience and what I have learned so far. I am still learning along the way. So let's get into the video then. So I'm going to pull out the question and I'm going to read the question. There's like 4 parts to the question. So I'm going to read the first part and I'm going to answer the question, and then the second part, and so on. So, and I have written down my answers because I had time to go through the question, and I've written down the answer and what I want to say. Okay. So it says, I'm so happy you're talking about Femoston 2x10. Yeah, I had to talk about Femoston 2x10 because it was my first time taking Femoston 2x10 and actually getting like monthly withdrawal bleeding. Since I had been diagnosed with POI, I've never actually had like a monthly withdrawal bleeding throughout the time I was on Femoston 2x10. So I really had to talk about it. There was something else I forgot to add when I did the update. It was, I know I talked about like the main reason why I stopped Femoston 2x10 because I noticed constant twitching. And at this time, I wasn't really sure if it was the Femoston or it was the thyroid on its own. And I was seeing a lot of things online. So I just had to make a decision. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back to my Femoston 1x5. And also the other reason was because the monthly withdrawal bleeding was so painful, like the pain. I remember someone actually saying to me once that they had to stop taking the Femoston 2x10 because the pain was just too much for them. And I said to myself, oh no, my body seems to be adjusting to it good enough. And then a few months later, I was in so much pain. Even when I was not having any monthly withdrawal bleeding, I could just be lying down on my bed or just sitting down, and I feel like there's this pain inside me that was just eating me from the inside. It was so bad. It was really, really bad. I was like, no, this is getting too much. So those were a couple of the reasons why I switched over to the 1x5. And the 1x5 has been great. And there are some symptoms that are back, but I will talk about that later on. This video is not for that. And I have a question. Is the longer use of Femoston can lead to breast cancer or any other serious illness? Femoston is an HRT treatment among others. And no question, there are studies out there that says that HRT can lead to breast cancer. Because I remember when I first started doing research about HRT, and when I type in HRT or the name of my medication, a lot of the things that I saw was breast cancer, breast cancer, breast cancer, breast cancer. And I was frightened. I was really scared. And during this time, I really had no one to express this to. Like, okay, this is what I have learned. I'm concerned. So the only way that I could really find out more information was by doing a lot of research. So I really started doing a lot of research online. I started reading a lot of articles. I started using like keywords to find out what I wanted to know. And also when I attended a Daisy Network event last year, which was very informative. So the more research I did, I found out that cases of POI can be different for individuals. First of all, we know that HRT helps relieve symptoms of menopause and also provides estrogen, the estrogen that we're lacking, that our body is not producing. It helps. And estrogen is important because estrogen helps with your bones, your heart, and a lot of other things as well too. So estrogen is important for us with POIs. And I've also learned that with HRT, when it comes to POI, each case are different and everyone has to be treated accordingly. So that's why it's very important when when doctors ask about your family history and everything, because if you come from a family that has breast cancer, they need to be aware of that so that they can treat you accordingly. So for me, for example, when I started HRT a long time ago, I answered the question that I don't know of any family members that has any breast cancer or anything. But that was the best of my knowledge, because in honesty, I don't know much about my father's side of the family or my mother's side. I'm really getting to know both sides now. And of course, when you talk about illness, there are side effects to every HRT. Every single HRT treatment has side effects like tender breasts, vaginal bleeding, skin reaction, and so many more. Next set of question is, I read all kind of reviews about the pros and the cons. Not easy to see clear since the OBY do not mind to subscribe it easily. The way my OBY did it is, we started with the Femoston 1/10. Then my symptoms were still not going away. She upgraded me to the 2/10, and it worked okay with me. Now that's just like me as well. I initially started with the patch, and the patch was too high for me. Then they changed it up to the Femoston counting, which is the combined counting 1/5, and I was on that for almost 8 years, if not more than 8 years. Then I switched over to the Femoston 2/10 because my menopausal symptoms were coming back. I'm not going to speak on behalf of every woman out there, but I don't think anybody likes being on HRT. Like, the side effect alone is, it's crazy. However, I cannot imagine my health if I was not on HRT. And being the fact that I've been on the patch 1/5, 2/10, you can tell that I'm still trying to find the right balance for me. So for me right now, I'm trying to look for a GP that has some kind of menopause or early menopause experience, so that I can actually go to the GP without relying so much on the hospital to get an appointment before I can actually see someone and talk to someone when I'm going through something that I need to talk about. So yeah, and then you went on to say, but I'm not happy to be on HRT for too long. When is too long? When should I stop taking it? When it comes to length of HRT, I've come across some articles that state that you shouldn't be on HRT for more than 5 to 10 years. That you're more prone to breast cancer if you're on HRT for more than 5 to 10 years. But again, there are also studies that state that there's no limit to how long you should be on HRT for, depending on your medical circumstances. Because POI is different for individuals, and we can all carry the same title, but it affects us differently. That's the fact. And each person has to be treated accordingly to their own medical history, to their own family history as well too. And also important to communicate with your doctor in regards to this. And if you have to get a second opinion with a different doctor, by all means do so, to be satisfied with the answer that you're getting. As for me, I have to remain on HRT until the actual age of menopause, which is 51. So that's me. For each person, like I said, is different. And when I get to 51, I don't know what's going to happen then. I probably will still have to be on HRT, get to the age of menopause, that your health is going to be reassessed to see if you still need HRT. And I have also read some studies, and that even people that are post-menopause still do take HRT because of that estrogen deficiency as well too. So that's why I think it's completely different for everybody. We can't really go by what one person is doing because it's different. So definitely do speak to your doctor, get information if you're very, very concerned. Now, the rest of the question is, so many women say to stay away from HRT. Is that really something we need to worry? Is that really something we need to worry about? Like I've said in this video, it's different for everybody. So, of course, you know, I have like some part of the family that tell me stay away from HRT. Oh my God, HRT does this, does that, does this. But again, it's different for us because we have POI, especially someone that's diagnosed at the age of 13. They need, you know, they need to be treated basically. If not, it's going to affect other aspects of your life. And I'm using me as an example. Sometimes I do think if I didn't go on HRT, I cannot imagine how my health will be like. So it's the best thing I can actually say that you can get from this video is to speak to your doctor. Speak to them until you're satisfied. Ask all the questions that you have. Oh yes, before I go, I do have a book that I want to recommend. There's a lot of articles that I've come across, but what I'll do is I'll try and narrow it down to put relevant article to this question. So make sure to check the description box. And there's a book that I have been reading for a while now that I would like to recommend. So this is the book, and it's called Estrogen Matters. So I saw a few people were reading this book online. Even though I'm not much of a reader, they were reading it online and there was a lot of good reviews. So I decided to, you know, read it, and it talks about estrogen. So far, this book is really, really good. So I advise you to get the book and read it as well. It talks about studies. There's a lot of studies on HRT there too. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.